Starmaker Studios in Lisbon, and we've just finished listening to Stus Rollins' new CD, Amygdala. So you were just telling me earlier that Amygdala was like an anthology. Could you describe to us what you meant by this?
Yes, I was just saying really that the album is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Really, was just play the guitar the way I really want to play it, the way I've seen it over the last 20 to 30 years. And the album is like an anthology because it has certain sound bites throughout, with from Jimi Hendrix, from Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, people that I aspire toward. And
yeah, we thought that was interesting actually. How do they all connect? Is that a special order to this, that you say the meaning of the little sound bites? Do they refer to the music in a certain way?
Yeah, there's no particular order to them, but they're all giving out the same message. Really, some of them are newscasts of accidents, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, the helicopter crash, and Randy Rhoads, his plane crash. But they all relate to guitarists that are either alive at the moment, that are at the top of their game, or that they were at one time great guitarists that were taken away from us. So in a way, the anthology is. That's what it's doing. The album is telling a story through the guitar of all my influences. And
so would you say those sound bites are exactly the people who influenced you the most?
They are indeed, yeah. Yeah. Every sound bite on this 12 sound bites, there's 12 tracks on the album. They all relate to something that affected me deeply in my life as far as playing guitar and being a musician is concerned. Some sad moments and some great moments, and there are certain interviews on there that are just explaining, like how difficult it is to play the Fender Telecaster and who's mastered it. Yeah, but it does tell a story really, from my point of view.
Talking about emotions, I mean, it's not really obvious to most of the listeners why the CD is called Amygdala. Would you care to explain that? Okay,
yeah. Amygdala is like a walnut-sized part of your brain. And it is really the first part of your brain to develop, and it takes care of the emotions. It stores the emotional centres of our thoughts and patterns. And I chose the word amygdala because of that, really, because the album is quite an emotional thing. It's really about rock and rock guitar playing, since Jimi Hendrix.
Just having listened to it, the sonic qualities really jump out. It's like quite astonishing how big and huge and loud and very powerful the sounds are. So I was wondering, was the album all done here?
Well, thank you. Anyway, that's nice of you to say. Yeah, my intention from the beginning was to get the biggest, baddest, loudest, brightest heavy metal and guitar sounds that I could. So it was all done at Starmaker Studios, but a lot of the drum tracking and the really loud guitar stuff was done in Starmaker Studios in England. So I've got a big sound room there. I can put all the equipment in and really make some racket. And so all the big stuff, I used diesel, VH4 100-watt head and cab. I mean, when you turn that up, it really does make the walls rattle. So I searched high and low for the sounds and spent a lot of time getting the sounds really big and heavy. And then when I came to Lisbon here, to the studio here at Starmaker, I was in a different environment and could mix it from a different point of view, but it was really important making sure that I got the biggest, fattest sounds I could possibly in the studio environment, because that when you come to mix the track, that is when you need to find those sounds, and the movement of air that big guitar amplifier creates is really important.
So I understood it right, that you are the sole musician apart from the drummer?
That is right, yes. The album does probably come across, hopefully comes across as a big band, really sort of big, loud band that's playing together. But ultimately it was all done piecemeal, bit by bit. I really just started off originally with a few riffs, and licks, and then I programmed all the drums and built up the tracks. And when the tracks got to a certain point, I brought Dave in, the drummer, and he learned the drum patterns, played over them, and then after that I then went back and rebuilt the songs on top of the drums that he'd laid down, and that was pretty much almost 2 years ago now.
I see.
So it's been a lot of cutting and pasting and back and forth, and moving a kick drum here, moving a snare drum there, taking a hi-hat out, putting it in. So the whole thing, I've been jamming with it and manipulating it, for almost 2 years into what it is now. And I hope it does come across as a free-flowing sort of big, sort of heavy rock sound, because that's what it's meant for. It's
So when you mentioned the Star Maker Studios in England and then in Lisbon, so we're interested to know, how did it all start, the studios, and why the move to a different country?
Oh, well, that's interesting. That's just what's been happening with my life, really, in the core, the central part of my life, ultimately. I moved from London originally. I was a session player and I played in bands in the 80s and the 90s, supporting acts like Iron Maiden and Saxon. The sort of the new wave boom of heavy metal thing, I was really involved in that, and so I've always been involved with recording and in studio environment. I moved out of London to the West Country to make Star Maker Studios, and so I bought an old barn and sort of redeveloped that and turned the studio into what I wanted, a big live room and a big operations room. And I was there for 10 years. Well, it's still there now, actually. I mean, I rent out the premises, but and I moved to Lisbon really for more of a relaxed environment, sort of something looking for a change in my life and in my musical direction. So this here is, although it's a great studio, it's a great sound in here. This is more of a budget studio, and I want to I'm not going to spend another 2 or 3 years doing a dynamic rock and roll guitar album. Next album would be something more of a fusion type. Jazz.
So you're already planning and already working on the new album?
Yeah, funny enough, yeah. I know that Amygdala comes out next week, which is great, and it's my opus really. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, as I said. But I'm already working on the next album, Magnificent Skin, it's called, and that's going to be like a much more eclectic jazz fusion, less rock, more tonalities, and different direction for a while.
This is actually your third album, and could you assess your own evolution as a guitarist comparing these 3 albums?
Yeah, that's very good. Well, good question. Music from the Edge was an experimental album, really. So when I was putting the studio together, it was 6, 8 years, 10 years ago, whatever now. I just let everything just go then. There was no format to what I was doing. I just allowed the tracks to come up. It was always keyboards, it was vocals, it was the guitar, and so on. Because I really couldn't find my sound, I spent a long time trying to evolve my sound as a player. I mean, as a guitarist, as all guitarists will know that you're constantly searching for sound, constantly searching for this own dynamic quality of your own sound. And my playing really evolved. I used to, because I was playing all the time as a professional musician in my from 18 to 25 and early 30s. And then I didn't play for a long time. I sort of got into business and got into producing and other things and events and and stuff. My guitar playing had taken a back seat for a while. So the second album, Music for Adults, was, well, that's what it was for really. It was music that adults could listen to in a way, because it went from gross out heavy metal track to a soft jazz funk track to a ballad to a love song, and that was just me wanting to try lots of different styles, lots of different outlets for my, for the way I was thinking and feeling at the time. And then all the time I was developing playing. I got involved with other musicians, and I met up with Greg Howe, who's one of my all-time favourite guitar players. One of the top 10 best.
This is also one
players.
of the name of the songs on Amygdala, I realised.
It is,
Yes.
yeah. It's called it's a track called "This Is How." It's dedicated in a way to Greg Howe, yes, because he and I spent a long time. He's my teacher, my guru, if you like. And I was practicing really hard and working really hard to try and get my playing back up to scratch. And I got involved with Greg and asked him if he wouldn't mind directing me in my playing, and spent hours and hours and hours of lessons. And I literally was just back to practicing 4, 5, 6 hours a day, which I have been doing for the past 2-3 years. So my playing has gone from being really empty and quiet to being more dynamic. Got back to where I used to be as a player, and then transcended that, and now I'm moving onward. So it's great that I've just finished Amygdala, which is just pure rock and roll album. It's just wild, mad guitar sounds and great guitar solos. Very big, very wide sound.
I can't help but noticing this very special guitars. It seems to me. Is it?
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. This is a great instrument. Yeah. It's another thing that's helped my playing a lot. This is an Owen Jackson guitar. A great friend of mine, Owen Jackson. He lives in Wiltshire in England, and he's a great guitar maker. And I wanted him to make a guitar that fits me, that hugs me. I wanted all the things that I've got from all the guitars that I have. I've got 25, 26 guitars or something. They're all special in a way. And this guitar has an element of all of those. It fits me, hugs me really well. And there's a lot of this guitar on the Amygdala album. It's a really beautiful.
Different ones. You did use.
I did. I pretty much used all my guitars on the album, which is good. So you use like the Jazz one, and the Universe, the Ibanez Universe, and things for the rhythm sections, and for the big, fat, loud, chunky guitars. The beautiful John Suhr and the Jenna Sevens for a lot of the lead guitar. But this guitar came in toward the end. The 2 or 3 tracks done solely with this guitar now, and because it's just so much me. It's really special. But just to finish on the other thing, the dynamics of my playing have come a long way. The Amygdala is now finished. It's something I wanted to get out of my blood, out of my bones, and I'm playing more of a fusion style, more jazz orientated, more dynamic, more intricate type playing. And whilst I've been practicing and working with Greg, I'm now ready to start a completely new, different project, I'm looking forward to. But we get Amygdala out of the way. I think it's released on the 5th of May or something.